What's up, you beauties? Welcome to the High and Wide Hockey YouTube channel for another Flyers post-game show. Flyers once again fall to the Washington Capitals by a final score of 6-3. The Flyers have now lost 6 straight games. They are 1-5-1 now. I'm sorry, 1-4-1 to start the season. And while things certainly started tough for the Flyers, they go down 4-0. Ivan Fedotov allows 4 goals on 10 shots to start this game. It was certainly going to be a tall order for a comeback tonight. And as unpopular as this might be to say, a lot of positives tonight, and could have been one of their better games on the season if they could have kept maybe 1 or 2 of those goals out of the net. Who knows? Maybe we're talking about a win tonight, but I thought they looked a lot better after the reported John Tortorella, Nick Seeler confrontation on the bench. And we're going to get to that in a little bit. But first, let's kind of take you guys through how we got to that point. I mentioned the Flyers fell down 4-0 to the Capitals before they really even had a chance to get going tonight. Nick Dowd once again opened the scoring. He scored his second goal of the year, his second goal in his last 2 games, both goals against the Philadelphia Flyers. Connor McMichael made it 2-0 with another goal just over a minute later, and he would score once again just over 3 minutes later to make the score 3-0. I'm sorry, make the score 4-0. Taylor Radish actually scored the first one tonight. And Dylan McElrath, of all people, believe it or not, had 2 assists on 2 assists on 2 of the 4 Capitals goals to start this game here. It's going to be a bad night when Dylan McElrath is dropping points on you, having multiple point games. So, just a brutal start to this one for the Flyers. They come out of the first period 1-0. Didn't look great. And then the Capitals dropped 3 goals to start the second period on them. And all of a sudden, it's a 4-0 game. I got to be honest, while maybe Fedotov could have had a few of those, I got to say they weren't all on him. You would like him to maybe make one of those stops, though, to keep the score close and keep the Flyers in the game. He's not giving you that yet. I thought he looked a little better as the game went on. There was a shot there in the third period. He went side to side and made a chest save. The puck ended up hitting, I think it was an Ovechkin shot too, actually hit him in the logo. And to me, that was a good sign. Maybe he's starting to figure things out a little bit. Like, while it's tough to say while he's giving up 3 and 4 and 5 goals, it may take time with Fedotov. It's going to be frustrating. Look, while as a whole, there hasn't been a lot of turnover from this team from this year to last year, but there are really important players in this lineup right now that weren't here last year. And they weren't even in the country last year, let alone in the North American League, let alone the NHL. And those players are Matvei Michkov, who we're seeing struggle 5v5. We're going to get to Michkov. I can't wait to talk about Michkov tonight because he recorded 2 more power play points. But we're seeing the other one in Fedotov, I think, struggle adjusting to the North American game. I was told, I think I mentioned it on our last episode, that the difference between KHL goaltending and playing goalie in the NHL is like night and day. So maybe it's tough to say after giving up 4 goals in the first, period and period and a half. But I thought he looked better as the game went on, and Mr. Twitzer here kind of chimes in as well. Fedotov pulled it together and looked all right. If we can get the Fedotov from the second half of that game going forward, that's all I need. That's all I'm looking for. A guy that can keep them in games, give them a chance to win. He doesn't need the battle for the number 1 spot. Just give Urson a break and give the Flyers a chance, whereas Urson, there are some nights where Urson can maybe steal you a few games. Fedotov doesn't need to be stealing any games. Just keep the Flyers in games, like 2-3 goals against, and, that's doable. But once you get to 4 and 5, it's tough to score 4 or 5 goals a night in the National Hockey League. So Cole C also agrees Fedotov wasn't that bad either. Yeah, Stan Fortunato, not a bright side when there's 6 straight losses. But there were a couple, believe it or not. And I know I can be maybe sometimes annoying because I seem to find those, and I'm going to find them tonight in the midst of a 6-game losing streak. Mr. Twitzer chimes in here. We're going to get to Zamula. Don't you wait. The bad, all things Zamula. The good, all things Michkov. Yeah, we're going to get to Zamula, so don't wait. Ron Rawa pops in. Hey, Ron, you won a T-shirt a few weeks back. I remember seeing the name, so you really did subscribe, and we appreciate that. Thank you. Frosty Burns that wraparound. It could have been different. Yeah, and he was knocking on the door all night, Morgan Frost. And see, like for me, that's a positive thing. Like keep knocking on the door, Morgan. Like they're gonna come, and he's a guy. Once they start coming, the confidence starts growing, and we'll see more offense from him and from his line mates because he's one of those guys that pulls his line mates into the offense, and they start to benefit as well. Lyndon, bring up Jinning and sit Zamula. Yeah, I mean, if that's what we're doing, if guys aren't playing well and they're sitting for it, then I think he's got to be pretty close to up next on the list there, huh? So, okay, so let's get to a couple things for tonight. I mentioned the Seeler Torts argument, reportedly, multiple sources reported. I saw it first from Jackie Spiegel, who was on our show a few weeks ago. Jackie's great. Reported that there was some kind of an argument on the bench between Nick Seeler and John Tortorella. We think from the broadcast, they think it had to do with some kind of a line change and somebody missed a coverage, and there was kind of barking back and forth from Torts and Seeler to the point where Jackie said Torts motion to Rocky Thompson, to sort of deal with Nick Seeler, to talk with Nick Seeler, and while so that was some interesting stuff there, and shortly after that. I don't know if it was because of that, but the Flyers seemed like they woke up a little bit. They started getting the legs moving. They started getting a little physical, and pucks started going in the net for them. Travis Konechny got the goal scoring started with the power play goal with Matvei Michkov and Jamie Drysdale getting assists. And Owen Tippett scoring just over 4 minutes later, his first of the season with assists from Igor Zamula and Tyson Forster. Now, the Tippett goal is interesting because he's the kind of player, once he gets going with one, the confidence starts growing and the goals start coming. So that's a big one for me. And I would like to talk a little bit more on Tippett later in the episode or later in the show tonight. So if you guys could remind me to talk about Tippett before we wrap up tonight, that'd be cool. Start of the third period. So Michkov took a penalty early in the third period, and it was pretty much a dive from Tom Wilson. And man, did I think the hockey gods were going to help the Flyers pull this one out. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out to be that way. But Michkov did end up scoring a few minutes later on the Flyers' own power play with assists from Owen Tippett and Jamie Drysdale. Multi-point night from Jamie Drysdale, 2 power play assists. So Michkov gets his third goal of the season on the power play, and now a multi-point game, and he now has 7 points in his first 7 games as a Philadelphia Flyer, with 6 of the 7 points coming on the power play. All 3 of his goals have been on the power play. You may have heard Jack and I have discussions on our show, and Jack kind of said it. He kind of called it that Michkov should, single-handedly help this power play rise, and maybe we're seeing that. The goal from Michkov was a pretty one. He kind of, created his own lane by using players in front of the goalie as screens, and he when the time was right, he released the shot and made it a 4-3 game. There's a comment here from Cole C. Coots felt like he had a good game too, and I'm glad that you brought Coots up because on 2 of the Flyers' goals tonight, Coots was net front, and it's something that I've said the Flyers have needed to establish for a while. Just make it tough for the goalie to see the puck. Right. There was a tweet somewhere, I think it was from Kevin Kurz, who spoke to Fedotov about how, he would prefer guys to get out of the way instead of trying to block shots. Well, so basically he's saying less traffic will make it easier for him. And that's just his preference. But I think my point here is the Flyers need to make more traffic. They need to make it tougher for the opposing goalie to see shots coming in. If you're just shooting shots at goalies in the NHL, if they can see the puck and don't laugh, they're more likely than not going to stop it. I said don't laugh because in the case with Fedotov, at least of late, even if he can see it, it's getting by him. But you get the point there. So I was happy to see Coots net front, and I was happy to see the Flyers pot 2 with him there in front of goal. Zach chiming in here. 2 tipped goals and a breakaway. Those goals aren't on Fedotov, even though I would love to see him make the breakaway save. Yeah, that's what I saw too. So I kind of tuned in a little bit late tonight. I was recording an episode of Dauber Prospects Report. Make sure you guys go check out that show tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. Good show on some prospects. But missed the first period of the game. But when I saw the replay of the goals, the first thing I thought when I saw the score was, oh man, Fedotov's in goal. This can't be good. The goals that were scored can't really directly be attributed to Fedotov, in my opinion. I mean, you'd like to, like Zach said there, you'd like to see him at least make 1 stop, 2 stops, give the Flyers a chance. Yeah, it's tough to come back from 4 goals down in the National Hockey League. So, Pod Street Bullies chiming in. What's the Russian word for dog shit? I don't know. Not sure. Somebody's got to have that though, right? Who's got Google Translate queued up? Ron, you're welcome. No problem. That shirt's in the mail, man. Expected soon. Okay, let's get to some more of my notes here. So there was a tweet from the NHL PR that I wanted to bring up. Just give me a second to get that, guys. About Matvei Michkov. Now, if I was smart, I would have bookmarked it. NHL PR. I didn't bookmark it, by the way, so go ahead and get your Jim's Not Smart jokes in. Did they delete it? I think they deleted it, guys. Oh, never mind. Here you go. With his assist on Travis Konechny's goals, Matvei Michkov is now one of 7 teenage rookies in Flyers history with at least 6 points in his first 7 career games. A list that includes Travis Konechny, and that now makes 7 points in 7 games for the Flyer for Michkov as a Flyer. So, it's a little history there, I guess, for Michkov as a Flyer. Good stuff there. So yeah, not all negatives tonight, guys. If the Flyer, there you go. Somebody Zach translated that for you guys. Good stuff. You guys are on the ball. So yeah, not all negatives, and it's tough to really look for positives when your team's in the midst of a 6-game losing streak and they have 1 win on the season. But I think at least they have something to build on. There's going to be nights when you play well and lose, and if we want to single this game out and say that that's all it was tonight, they played well and they lost. The Capitals, in my opinion, are a good team. They looked like they were, in midseason form last night, and the Flyers, they pushed them a little bit tonight. So can't be that mad if you take a step back and look at the things this team has going on. They're the 3rd youngest team in the league, and they actually mentioned that on the broadcast tonight. I had mentioned that in our group chat earlier today. They're the 3rd youngest team in the league. There's going to be growing pains. The backup goalie was playing in another league last year. Michkov wasn't in North America last year. He clearly plays better when he has space on the power play. There's room for improvement 5v5, so we'll see what happens, but it's going to be a season. Hey, maybe they're getting the tough stuff out of the way now, right? Not every team has smooth sailing from game 1 to game 82. So maybe they're going through a tough stretch now. Tortorella mentioned it during his press conference last night. The guy's got to figure it out. And look, I was excited for this team before the season started. And, just because they've had a tough start here doesn't mean I've soured on any of the players, on the group that they have. I think it's a group that needs to figure things out a little bit. I'm not sure they're playing the same style as they played last season. So maybe they're figuring out this new way to play here. Maybe they're figuring out a new playing style here. And look, it is an adjustment. You could clearly see there needs to be an adjustment. They're trying to figure out how to play with Michkov. The new lines. I think Kevin Kurtz put out a tweet earlier today. There's been like 79 different lines already this year. So they're trying to see what works. They're trying to see what fits. They're figuring each other out. And even defensively, I mean, I said it in the beginning of the year. Seeler not being ready to start this season was going to be an issue, and it proved to be an issue. They didn't have a solid second pair. They couldn't rely on Ristolainen and Zamula to be that second pair in Sealer's absence. Sealer's back now. Torts mentioned it a couple days ago. He's not only is he a good hockey player, but he's an emotional leader. And the confrontation with Torts tonight was an example of that. And while we all think a confrontation with the coach is not a good thing, maybe it'll prove to be one. If Torts is barking at a guy and Sealer sticks up for his teammate or something along those lines. I don't know what happened. Maybe they came out and talked about it in the post-game show. I don't know. But Torts himself said he likes that stuff. We'll see if he's a man of his word, right? Look, I'll tell you, well, I don't know. I think good leaders like a little pushback. And I think Torts is a good leader. I think he's a good teacher. And if someone's pushing back on him, I would assume he would think that that's a good thing. There's a little fire there. There you go. Yeah, Eric kind of said the same thing. Torts loves guys barking back at him. So there you go. Sam chiming in. Jim is not smart, Joe. Thanks, Sam. Oh, man. Zach, the second half of the game was actually fun. I don't know if it was just because they were scoring, but it felt like their passes were connecting more and they were playing better defensively. Of course, absolutely. And so I had a Tippett point I wanted to bring up. So what I've noticed watching Tippett, at least from the couple home games that I was able to attend so far, he's getting pushed around. It looks like the opposition is making a point to target Tippett, physically, lay the body on him. And I didn't notice that as much last year, but it doesn't look like Tippett's fighting back as much. And I remember earlier in the season, Torts said he wants to see more personality from Tippett, at least on the ice. He wants to see a little edge to him. And I'm wondering if that's because he's noticing, opposition players maybe have a target on Tippett. Maybe there's a book out on him, where if you lay the body on him a little bit, it'll kind of, turtle shell a little bit. But there was a play tonight behind the goal, I think in the third period, where Tippett was involved in a puck battle. And while he didn't win the battle, that was about as physical as I've seen Tippett all year long. He didn't just give up on the battle and, give up the puck easily. He didn't shy away from being physical behind net. So hopefully maybe the goal Tippett scored was a turning point for him. Maybe the confidence is back a little bit. He was reminded of, hey, I can be that guy. I've scored 25, almost 30 goals in this league, I can do that. Pappy Schmears. It's the first time I've seen you in here. Hopefully we see you in here more, Pappy. Thanks for watching. Do they actually care about being relevant in this league? I'm sure they do. Yeah, I'm sure they care about being relevant. Look, I think it's going to take a little bit longer than we would have liked. I get a lot of the frustration. You guys are on Twitter. I'm sure you guys see the comments in the YouTube and in the Facebook groups. Fans were excited before this season. They were excited to watch Matvei Michkov. I mean, Michkov's come as advertised. He's point per game player as a 19-year-old. So that's good stuff. And here you go, Sturdy99 chiming in. Do you think the fans' expectations were a bit too high this year? I think fans were excited to watch fun hockey. And I'm not sure fans thought that they were going to go to the Stanley Cup or, anything like that. But I think they were expecting better hockey to watch. And obviously the 1-4-1 or 1-5-1, whatever they are, start. It's hard to find positives and things like that. So do I think they were too high? I'll say slightly. I know that we were all excited to watch Michkov. And I think in being excited to watch Michkov, we also expected the team to do well. I guess maybe we all thought that was going to go hand in hand, right? So I would say slightly expectations were too high, but that's fine to have high expectations. I think fans are caring again, For a while, we were also numb because the Flyers just stunk and we knew that they didn't know what they were doing. So I think when you have expectations and when fans actually are getting angry, it means we care again, you know? So I think that's okay. Is this fun hockey we're seeing? No. Maybe for the last, almost 2 periods tonight, I think that they were getting back to it. Yeah. Imagine how Briere is feeling right now given his publicly stated expectations for the year. Um, yeah. So here's something, like something that I would want to see because it doesn't seem like Briere wants Luchanko up with the Flyers as much as John Tortorella, which Luchanko's been out for the last 2 games now, and in my opinion, Noah Cates says, he looks more like an NHLer than Jet Luchanko. That's not a knock on Luchanko. I thought he's looked perfectly fine for, a just turned 18-year-old 2 months ago. Um, but clearly Noah Cates is the better NHL player now, and, we're crying about roster consistency with all the lines that the Flyers have been using. How about keeping the same guys in the lineup game to game? Right? Like we know that Noah Cates can play in the NHL. We know what he brings to the table. He's one of the best defensive players in the league. Get him in there, right? Luchanko's like I said, it's not a knock on Luchanko. 18-year-old. There will be some good things and there's going to be some bad things. We don't really know what we're getting with Luchanko yet. Doesn't need to play in the NHL yet. Where Noah Cates, this is the last year of his deal. I think you gotta see if you're gonna bring him back at the very least, and I know it's a long year, but get him in some games, get some consistency, and let's go here. Like, let's stop experimenting, you know? That's my take on it. So yeah, this has been one of our longer post games of the year. Sturdy99, are the reports about Luchanko getting sent back to juniors true? Until the Flyers come out and say that that's happening, Uh, I'm gonna say no. I don't know. I think there was a tweet going around saying that the Capitals broadcast had mentioned that. These guys do talk at games, so if somebody from the Flyers network or within the Flyers knew that and had mentioned that to the Capitals broadcast and they slipped out and said it, that could be a thing. But until the Flyers announced that Luchanko is being sent back, I wouldn't put too much stock in anything there. Tell you the truth. And they'll announce it. So, yeah, the Flyers have 2 more games this weekend, back-to-backs, I wanna say against, the Wild and Montreal. If that's not correct, you guys can correct me in the comments. So, yeah. Oh, there you go. Jamie Baskow said that, and TNT Broadcast said it. So, yeah, maybe it is a thing. And look, as much as I would like to see Luchanko stay in the lineup for a little longer, they need some consistency, man. They need some consistency in the lineup. And Noah Cates on his own is a consistent player. He brings the same thing every night, night in and night out. They need some consistency in the lineup. So, that's my take there. Once again, Flyers fall to the Capitals 6-3. They'll be back Saturday at 1 p.m. and I'll be in attendance. And I think they have Montreal. Let me just bring up the schedule for you guys real quick here, right? Like we're doing a post-game show. I might as well have the info. It'd be nice if I had like a producer, like a one-man show. All right. So the Flyers are back Saturday at 1 p.m. and Sunday at 7 p.m. against the Montreal Canadiens before they head back on the road October 29th versus Boston. And what do you know? They'll be back home for 2 more on Halloween next Thursday and Saturday versus Boston. There was one more thing I wanted to look up for you guys, but I don't recall what it was. So we'll save it for the next show. I saw your comment there, Sean C. I won't post it there. Okay. So let's wrap this one up, guys. The Flyers fall tonight 6-3, and they fall to 1-5-1 on the season. Maybe they can snap that streak on Saturday against the Minnesota Wild. It's a 1 p.m. start time. The Wild have started 4-0-2 to start the season. This will be, they're on a road trip now, and they're blowing the doors off some teams. So they're on a 3-game win streak. They've beaten the Blues 4-1 away, Blue Jackets 3-1 in Columbus, and the Panthers 5-1 down south. They have the Lightning tomorrow night. So the Flyers will be well rested by the time they get to the Minnesota Wild. We'll see. Funny comment here from Pappy. Hopefully we see you more in the comments going forward. For HW Hockey, thanks for watching. I'm Jim Iacovone. We'll see you guys on Saturday. Good night.